Hi, my name is Celine Throwbridge. I will be your teacher for today, and we're going to be covering TEKS 3A 6th grade art, which says that students should be able to identify in artworks the influence of historical and political events. Historical and political events, they tend to intertwine when it comes to artwork. Either it's showing a historical event and without knowing shows something political or has an underlying political reason to be made, or it's made for purely political reasons and unintentionally gives you a historical event, for instance, an election. Now, we're going to be covering these 4 very important questions in this lesson. How can art help solve, show, and bring up a problem or issue? The second question we're going to be covering is, what is idealized? The third one is, why would it be important to idealize a self-portrait? And the fourth one is, why wouldn't an artist portray an event as realistically as possible? Those are all good questions to keep in mind as this lesson goes on. Now, a lot of artwork, whether it's historical, political, or not, is commissioned. Commissioned means that it is paid for to be made. Let's say I want to do a commission for a beautiful background. I'm going to pay an artist to do it. Now, if you're paying for something, you're going to have specifications of how it's going to be done and what elements it's going to have in it. Some of the first commissioned artworks from early time were self-portraits or just regular portraits. Like this one from Hans Holbein, Portrait of Henry VIII. Now, a lot of portraits of dignitaries and kings were idealized and meticulously planned, meaning that from top to bottom there was a plan while they were doing it. Now, there's several reasons for this. Let me just go over a couple. Meticulously planned means that every element, from the hat to the pose to what they were wearing or even what was in the background, was put there for a reason. They were put there, not obviously, but to show maybe a person's station, portray youth, power, fidelity, a lot of different things that you wanted people to know you for. Now, this also meant that a lot of the time the people were idealized. What is idealized? Idealized means the best image. Imagine if back then they had a camera, they took a picture of them and they edited it. Maybe they took off a little bit of the chin or slimmed the waist. Well, that type of stuff didn't exist back then, so what ended up happening is that they just told the artist, you know what, make me look good. Why would it be important for someone to have an idealized portrait? Well, there's a very easy answer for that. It's because politics and image are always intertwined. They come hand in hand. So the best image that you could portray of yourself, or it could be portrayed of you, was going to put you in the political spotlight in a positive way. Nobody wants to be, shown in a negative way. The next artwork that we're going to be talking about right now is the drawing of Benjamin Franklin's tattoo. Benjamin Franklin was a founding father of the United States. He was also a great inventor and a great politician. Now, he got this tattoo with the original, I think, 8 colonies to try to say, we need to join together as a country. Because if not, we're going to fall apart and die, just like a snake would die if we cut it into pieces. Maybe each piece would live or twitch or give the impression of living for a little bit, but sooner or later it would fade away. This is an artwork that is historical in nature because it helps us understand an event, helps us understand what people were feeling and thinking. But it is extremely political because it's talking about a revolution. It's talking about going away from being a colony of England and becoming this brand new country, the United States of America. Another painting or artwork that we're going to be talking about right now is Diego Rivera's Detroit Industry Murals in New York. Now, Diego Rivera was commissioned, or paid for, to make a series of murals showing the Industrial Revolution, another historical event. The Industrial Industrial Revolution was this event where basically everything started being automized. People weren't making things by hand as much anymore. They were going into factories. Like, let's pretend, for instance, I wanted to buy a marker. Well, back then, a marker would be made by hand, which they didn't exist, but let's say it's a pen. By hand from top to bottom. If the tip broke, I'd have to go get it fixed, and it would have to be made, handmade, to fit that specific pen. But now, all of a sudden, in industry, I can make a million tops of pens, middles of pens, bottoms of pens that can all fit with each other no matter what. So the cost of things would go down, the productivity was going up, and people started making lots of money and moving away from the country into the city. Obviously, his mural is covering a huge historical event. It's covering something that really changed the face of America, and you could say even the world. Making one last point about Diego Rivera's mural, it was more story-like in nature, just like this elephant. Why would it be story-like? Well, think about it like this. If I'm talking about an event that happened in the middle of the night, that took several hours, that had several events happening in it during the span of time, it's kind of hard to put it all together in one picture. So in this story-like element, when it comes to historical paintings, usually it's not going to be realistically portrayed. It's got too many elements, it's got too many important things, too many important features and people for it to be accurate. It's not like someone's filming it. So what ends up happening here is that all of those elements are put together in a composition to really show an idea. Again, we go back to that question, why would an artist portray an event unrealistically? Well, maybe it's because the emotion is more important, or what is caused by the event is much more important. For instance, the Industrial Revolution, an important event, it cannot be put in the most realistic ways because there's so many things that are important about it. Moving on to more politically based artwork. Now, if we look here at the board, politically based artwork does have commission, but its agenda, its reason for being made, its reason why people might end up commissioning it to begin with, is a much more obvious reason. For instance, if we're talking about an election poster like this one of Obama, Hope, was not commissioned, but it was used for one underlying reason, one agenda, to portray Obama in the best light possible and get him elected. That's what political posters tend to be for. The next one that we're talking about here is the We Can Do It World War poster. This one, its purpose and its agenda is obvious again. It's to put women in the workforce, to say we can do it. While our men are off fighting, we can take care of the country. We can keep on building. We can support them in one way or another. So this one was really used to recruit people or women into an industry that before had told them, no, you can't come in here. Another super popular political poster is the one of Uncle Sam saying, we want you. We want you to join the army. The last one that we're going to be talking about is the political cartoon. Here in this cartoon we have a graduate and we have someone in the army. And the one in the army is telling the graduate, I figure it's easier to find a war than to find a job these days. So it's easier to fight a war than to find a job? That's not a great type of issue, but again, its agenda is so obvious. It's trying to say, you know, this is the issue that worries me, or this is the issue that is unfair, or shouldn't be happening, or is happening. And here it is, in a very simple, very easy way to understand. A couple of words, a little bit of imagery, and the reader, the viewer, knows what it's about. Now, going back to the record events element. Both historical and political, or if they are both, record events. Now, a historical or more historical thing will do it purposely. It will try to record that event and make sure that it's done correctly. But remember, it usually does have an agenda, except it's more hidden. Now, when it records events in a more political nature here, what it is it's more unintentional. The Obama poster, it's unintentionally recording the election of Obama into office, the first African American president. Another historical unintentional thing here, we can do it. It's memorabilia for World War. It tells us, this is the first time ever in history that women were really pushed into having a job. Our roles changed as women. We were no longer housewives, we were in the workforce. Now, going back again to a story-like element. In a more historical type of artwork, a story-like element is to better portray the importance of the event, the importance of the issues, what was caused by the event, or what emotion people were feeling. Now, going back to the more political one, it's to present an issue. To say, if it is in a story, just like this political cartoon, this is what's happening, here it is, it's obvious, we want you to know. These are the types of elements that are identified in a historical and political artwork. Going over it one more time. How can art help solve, show, or bring up a problem or issue? Well, this has been tried to be done in historical and political paintings throughout history. It's done to show a purpose. It's done to solve a problem by, showing people what really happened and letting them know, you can do something about it. Or to bring up an issue that people maybe didn't know or weren't aware of. Just like Benjamin Franklin's tattoo. Maybe it's not obvious, but we have to get together. We have to become one country, or we will fall apart. Second question, what is idealized? Idealized means it's the best image of something. A little bit slimmer here, a little bit better there, looking more powerful or younger or vital, or showing that you're faithful. Why would it be important to idealize a self-portrait? Well, self-portraits back then were your calling card. Especially if you were a politician or someone in office. It was to show, this is the person that I am. This is the best person that I am. To show you in a good light, to make sure people liked you. Why wouldn't an artist portray an event as realistically as possible? Again, we wouldn't portray something as realistically as possible because maybe it was nighttime. The whole image would be dark. Or maybe it took such a long period of time that if you portrayed it realistically, you would miss a lot of important events or a lot of important people. These are all questions that are important to think about when we're working with historical and political artwork. And I hope that this lesson helps you identify those elements, commission, agenda, that they record events, that they are story-like of historical and political events.